13 ships defied 300. In the Strait of Myeongyang, courage turned the tide of history. Late in the 16th century, Japan under Toyotomi Hideyoshi dreamed of empire. After failing on land, they turned their gaze to the sea. Toyotomi Hideyoshi, the man who unified Japan. Now, he sought to carve a path of blood through Korea and onward to China. Over 300 Japanese warships advanced, their sails rising like a wall of steel across the sea. If that lifeline from China was severed, Joseon would suffocate. Defeat would only be a matter of time. In the royal court of Hanseong, unease gripped the ministers. Generals had fallen, and the people's faith was crumbling.
One man stood against the tide, Admiral Yi Sun-sin, the master of the sea.
He had humbled the Japanese fleet before, not through wealth or numbers, but through discipline, brilliance, and unwavering loyalty.
Yet now, all that remained to him were but 13 ships, 13 against 300. Fear haunted every man aboard, yet in their eyes burned the will to fight to the last breath. Yi saw what no one else dared, a narrow passage where the tides raged like living beasts. These were not ships of grandeur, but floating fortresses of wood, each armed with iron thunder.
Under the cold moon, Yi's 13 ships seemed fragile, swallowed by the vastness of the sea. They prayed, not for victory, but for the strength to hold fast until the end. Yi Sun-sin knew despair well, yet never once did he yield to it. He chose his battlefield well, a strait where the tides themselves turned traitor against any who entered.
In Myeongyang, even the sea could tear apart the mightiest fleet.
We have no retreat. Here, in this strait, we will live or die for Joseon.
And in that instant, the sailors of Joseon cast aside their fear. Their hands gripped steel and wood.
13 ships stood as a wall, defying an ocean of enemies.
And so it began. 300 warships thundered into Myeongyang to face but 13.
In the silence of night, Yi searched the sea itself for an ally, and found it in the Strait of Myeongyang.
The tides here turned twice each day, roaring with whirlpools strong enough to tear apart ships. Here, in this narrow throat of the sea, the Japanese fleet's size would turn from strength into weakness.
If we hold this place, even 300 cannot pass. This is where Joseon will stand.
The men readied themselves. 13 ships stood against the tide, saying, each one a wall, each man a blade. Yi placed his ships in a line, anchored by the fury of the tide, a wall of 13 against 300.
Another sake to victory! Let the dice decide our fate.
From the horizon, thunder came. 300 ships, bristling with steel and fire, surged toward the strait. To the Japanese, victory seemed certain. They saw 13 ships not as a challenge, but as prey.
Yi's men trembled, but their admiral did not. His calm became their anchor.
13 hulls forged one will. In this narrow throat of water, Joseon would stand.
The Japanese fleet surged forward, confident that 13 ships could never bar their path.
But in the narrows, the sea betrayed them. currents twisted, turning order into chaos.
Their mighty fleet, pressed tight, stumbled against the will of the tide.
Yi waited, every heartbeat heavy. When the tide was right, he struck.
With thunder of iron and flame, 13 ships roared as one.
The first Japanese ships buckled, their decks torn apart by Joseon cannon fire.
In that smoke-choked narrows, thunder echoed, and the invincible armada faltered. Arrows rained from the decks, striking fear into the cramped enemy ranks.
Unyielding as the cliffs themselves, Yi's voice cut through the chaos died, and his men fought harder still.
The impossible had begun. 13 against 300, and the sea itself fought on Joseon's side.
The tide twisted their ranks into ruin. Steel and oars scapped beneath the seal's fury.
Yi's iron thunder tore through hulls, setting the proud ships of Japan ablaze. Where once they advanced with certainty, now they fought only to survive the inferno.
Arrow followed arrow, finding their mark in the cramped decks of the enemy. One after another, mighty warships fell to pieces under Joseon fire.
Their discipline shattered. No command could tame the tide or the thunder of Yi's cannons. In that storm of steel and fire, Yi stole immovable Prustuk, a pillar of resolve.
The invincible fleet had bled. Ship after ship lay wrecked upon the current.
The sea swallowed those who sought escape. Tus, mercy was not found in Myeongyang's depths.
For every man aboard, fear had died. Cheat, only resolve remained.
Desperate to recover, the Japanese loosed arrow and shot in thunderous fury. But their arrows could not pierce the fortress hulls of Joseon's ships. Yi's men answered with deadly precision, every shot tearing into the crowded decks. They sought to crush the Joseon fleet with sheer numbers, a tide of wood and steel. But Myeongyang turned traitor again, Taket. The tide itself betrayed them. Yi struck at the moment of weakness viewed. Fire and iron tore apart the trapped fleet. The proudest of their ships toppled, dragged down into the whirlpool of death.
The invincible armada faltered fluent. Fear spread faster than fire.
With each victory, courage surged. Their voices rose as one, shaking the cliffs.
13 against 300, and the sea bore witness to their impossible triumph.
The great fleet turned to flight, 300 ships scattered by but 13.
Exhausted, blooded, but unbroken, they had done the impossible.
In their tears, fear and pride mingled, for they had fought at the edge of despair.
The sea bore the scars of battle, a graveyard for the invader's pride. And at its heart stood one man Porin, Yi Sun-sin, unyielding, unbroken.
To his men, he was no longer just their admiral. He was their shield, their hope. In the dead of night, the proud warriors of Japan fled in silence, their banners lowered, their will broken.
With this single victory, the seas of Joseon were freed.
From shore to village, the cry spread, "Ui! Joseon still lived! Joseon still fought!"
In the hearts of his people, Yi was already carved in stone. They raised his likeness, that all might remember the shield of Joseon.
To the people, Yi was more than admiral. He was guardian, chosen by heaven.
13 ships had become a legend, their sails carrying hope across the sea.
And in his diary, Yi wrote not of glory, but of duty and the will to endure.
The strait where the sea once raged now lay silent, carrying the memory of thunder.
Even centuries later, his spirit lives hewn in every tide, in every defender of Korea.
His banner still flies, not only over ships, but over the hearts of his people. Here, where tide and courage met, a legend was born.